Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca and you should totally subscribe. You may have noticed that I did not post a video last week because I did take a week off. School was just really stressful at the time and I just needed a 1-week break. But I am back this week with a super fun video where I'm going to talk to you guys all about my favorite podcasts. Podcasts have been my obsession lately. I have enjoyed podcasts for a few years but have recently gotten back into them, and I definitely have some favorites. So I thought it would be a fun little video to talk to you guys about some of my favorite podcasts. But before we get started with the video, make sure to subscribe down below, click the bell notification button so that you get notified every time I upload a brand new video, and of course make sure to give this video a thumbs up at the end if you enjoyed it. With that said, let's get started with the video where I'm going to be talking to you guys about my favorite podcasts of all time. Alright, so first I'm going to start out with the podcast that I have loved for so many years now, and that is called the Happy Times Podcast with Joey Kidney. This is one of the first podcasts, or even the first podcast that I ever started listening to, and it's what really got me into listening to podcasts. The Happy Times is basically a self-help podcast. Joey Kidney talks about so many different situations in life. Most of the podcasts are titled Listen to This If type things. So listen to this if you're in a slump, listen to this if you have a fake friend, stuff like that. And honestly, this podcast is so helpful and so inspiring. It's something that I can listen to no matter what mood I'm in. Overall, I definitely recommend checking out the Happy Times with Joey Kidney. Next up, we have one of my current favorite podcasts that is called Drama Queens with Hillary Burton, Sophia Bush, and Bethany Joy Lenz. First of all, this trio friend group, are you kidding me? Absolute friendship goals. I am incredibly obsessed with Hillary Burton, Sophia Bush, and Bethany Joy Lenz. It's what made me want to start watching One Tree Hill, because I had known all of these actresses separately but not actually together where they did One Tree Hill together. So I'm watching that currently. But basically their Drama Queens podcast is a podcast about recapping the One Tree Hill show. In each podcast episode they talk about each episode of the show, and it's really cool to hear what the show and the episodes were like from their perspective, and also all of the behind the scenes, their funny jokes and inside jokes. They also interview people from the show. It's all around just an incredibly entertaining and inspirational podcast. I listen to it to and from school every single day. So if you watch One Tree Hill or you like Hillary Burton, Sophia Bush, or Bethany Joy Lenz, then I definitely recommend checking out this podcast. Alright, next up we have another one of my current favorite podcasts, which is Work in Progress with Sophia Bush. So there might be a little pattern here where you'll be able to see that I'm obsessed with Sophia Bush. Literally, she is my queen. Speechless. I don't even know what to say. I'm just obsessed with her. So when I found out that she had a podcast, I was like, okay, listening to that right away. So her podcast, I believe, is classified as a society and culture podcast. It is so cool and so interesting. She interviews all of these different celebrities and well-known people. Some of my favorites that I listened to recently are Karamo Brown, Glennon Doyle, and Rainn Wilson. So good. I love hearing about all of the different lives of all of these celebrities. And overall, it's just really interesting and entertaining to listen to. I definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, now we're gonna move into some more manifestation-y mindfulness podcasts. First up, we have the Mindful in Minutes podcast with Kelly Smith. This, I believe, is mainly a meditation podcast, and it is categorized as self-help and health. It's a really good, just rejuvenating podcast to listen to, especially in the morning. It keeps you grounded. It's really good for meditation, yoga, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you're into being mindful. Next, we have a podcast called The Mindful Kind with Rachel Cable. This is also a health and self-help podcast. Basically, she just shares personal experiences with mindfulness and talks about how listeners can incorporate mindfulness in their daily lives as well. Overall, it's a really good self-help podcast. Her podcast episodes are also very specific. There's how self-love benefits your relationships, making choices that feel right for you, what to do when you're feeling lost, stuff like that. This is also a really great podcast if you're into mindfulness and being good to your mind and body, ? Next up is a podcast called Mindset, Magic, and Manifestation with Michaela J. I actually got this podcast recommendation from another YouTuber. This podcast is classified under self-help as well. And basically, it's just a really good podcast to listen to for manifestation tips, mindfulness tips, and once again, just advice on what to do with certain situations. The next podcast is called What's Stopping You with Kelsey Jones. This is also a self-help podcast about just uncovering who you are as a person and discovering yourself. It's one once again, a really, really good inspirational podcast. And this one also has episodes that are very specific to certain situations, which I love. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Alright, so now we are going to end with 2 podcasts that are specific to TV shows. So the first one is called Office Ladies with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey. This podcast is based off of the show called The Office, a very, very iconic television show. My family and I watch it all the time. And similar to the Drama Queens podcast, they recap all of the episodes from The Office. So it's really cool. Once again, a whole bunch of like behind the scenes stuff, what it was like filming these episodes from their perspectives, and also interviews with some of the cast members as well. So it's really cool. Alright, the last podcast recommendation that I have for you all is The Good Place podcast. This is an NBC entertainment podcast. So each episode is mainly about like a different actress, actor, or like behind the scenes director person, and kind of talks about their character and their experience with the show, behind the scenes stuff. It's really cool. So if you watch The Good Place, I definitely recommend checking this out, because if you do watch the show, you'll know that it's like a very interesting, introspective, creative show. So seeing how that was all formed within this podcast is really cool. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up down below, subscribe, click the bell notification button so that you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. Also, leave me a comment down below if you listen to any of these podcasts, or even if you have any podcast recommendations for me. I would love to hear them. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I upload every single Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so I will see you guys back here next week for a brand new video. Bye!